everyone, welcome. It's just going to be another minute. We're just letting everyone in. Hello, welcome. Hi, everyone. Oh, I see Amelia. Hi, Amelia. Fun to see you. I do ask, though, if you have your video cameras off, that you please turn it off. If you have them on, please turn them off. Thank you. That's just so we can stay focused on the panelists tonight. Thanks, everyone. Great to see you. Excellent. Wonderful. Hi, Mom. Hey, everyone. Great to see you. If you don't mind just turning off your video cameras, not that I don't love to see your faces. We just want to keep this focused on the panelists tonight. Thank you so much. And just a couple tips about Zoom. If you have your Zoom screen in gallery view, I would recommend switching it to speaker view. So if you see there's like a little kind of Rubik's Cube looking icon on the top right corner of your screen, and you can click it and go back and forth between speaker view and gallery view. So you should put it in speaker view, and that way you'll only see the people who are speaking, who are our panelists tonight, instead of seeing everyone, which is great. And just a couple of you still have your video cameras on. So if you don't mind just switching those off, again, just so we're, you know, making sure the screen is just focused on the panelists, that would be perfect. I'm just gonna help you out here. Great. Okay, I think we're almost all in. So I just wanna quickly say hello. My name is Sari. I'm the Public Programs Manager of MOFAD. We're the Museum of Food and Drink. So welcome to those of you who have never been to a MOFAD program before, and welcome back to those of you who have. This is a super exciting night. I have literally been wanting to do a program with Phil Rosenthal and Lara Binovich since I became the programs manager of MOFAD almost a year ago. This is truly a dream come true. Lara is a dear, dear friend of mine. She is absolutely one of the expert historians, cultural historians of Jewish cuisine. She lives in the United States, but she's Canadian, and she's one of the absolute North American experts on this topic. So it is so exciting. Phil Rosenthal, who you all know, I will give a little bio in just a moment, but I just want to say that I'm so excited for this, and I'm so glad to have you join us. You know, one of the challenges, of course, of this moment that we're all kind of grappling with has been trying to figure out how to come together for our programs. We're a museum, and we're used to having people come in person. We're used to eating together, drinking together, sitting down together and enjoying. So of course it's been a big shift for us to move everything online, but it's also been a really wonderful opportunity to connect with this greater global community from all over the world. And it's so exciting to have you all join us. This has been a fantastic turnout, and I'm so glad we've been finding ways to connect virtually. So I really, really want to thank you for joining us. So just want to let you know, thank you for keeping your cameras off, your microphones off. There will be a Q&A. There'll be a time to ask questions of Lara and Phil at the end, the last 15 minutes. And there's a little chat box at the bottom of your screen. It's just that little chat icon. It's disabled right now, but at the end, it'll open up, and then you can chat your questions for the Q&A then. So if you have questions that come up during the conversation, just write them down, make a note, and you will have a chance to ask Phil and Lara your questions then. I also want to let you know we are recording, which is one of the reasons we ask you to please keep your cameras off for right now. And with that, I'm going to quickly turn it over to my colleague at Gastro just to tell you a little bit about Gastro Obscura. So take it away, Luke.
Hi everyone, my name is Luke Fader and I'm your host for Gastro Obscura. Thanks for joining us today. This online experience is part of Gastro Obscura, whose mission is to inspire wonder and curiosity about the world through food and drink. Gastro Obscura's articles, videos, and guides explore what food and drink reveal about the places where they're made and the people who make them. In partnership with chefs, historians, and other experts, Gastro Obscura helps travelers and curious people experience culinary wonders firsthand. So check out our parent website, atlasobscura.com, to find out more inspiring stories, incredible online experiences, and live streams with the Atlas Obscura community, all part of our Wonder from Home initiative. Thanks. Back to you, Sari.
Great. Thanks, Luke. Okay, so tonight we have Lara Binovich. She's a writer and a specialist in food culture and immigrant history. She is the co-curator of the upcoming exhibition at Skirball Cultural Center in LA called I'll Have What She's Having, the Jewish Deli. Her work has appeared in the Los Angeles Times, Saveur, the Globe and Mail, and other media outlets, as well as apps such as Google Maps. She co-edited the book Choosing Yiddish, New Frontiers of Language and Culture, and she was consulting producer on City of Gold, the 2016 documentary about the Pulitzer Prize winning food writer Jonathan Gold. And of course, Phil Rosenthal, the creator and host of Somebody Feed Phil, an unscripted documentary series on Netflix, which combines his love of food and travel with his unique brand of humor. His early writing credits include the series Down the Shore and Coach. In 1995, Rosenthal created a little comedy called Everybody Loves Raymond, which premiered in 1996. He was the showrunner and executive producer for all 9 years of the show's very successful run, which ended in 2005. During its original run, Everybody Loves Raymond was nominated for over 70 Emmy Awards and won 15 awards, including 2 for Best Comedy Series in 2003 and 2005. He won the 2002 Writers Guild Award for Excellence in Television Writing for his Everybody Loves Raymond script. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to them to start this conversation, but we're going to first see a quick clip from Phil's original show that was on PBS even before the Netflix show Somebody Feed Phil. So we're going to watch the clip first and then they'll take it away.
Number 19. It's the pastrami Swiss coleslaw Russian dressing on the best rye bread in America sandwich. There's only one thing you have to know. It's number 19.
Maybe I'm going to go different.
You know, that's what my driver said. The driver, the guy who's driving me, he says, they'll love you if you say number 19.
Is that right? Now, I'm going to be honest with you.
You don't want it.
I'll just have some Jell-O. I believe, maybe I'm wrong, that Swiss cheese fights the pastrami.
You would think that. You'd be wrong.
Swiss cheese on pastrami? It's Langer's. It's not New York.
What are you doing?
It's the best.
Listen, I'll get one. And if you want to bite, you don't have to commit.
I'll have a number 19.
Me too, because I don't like to make trouble like some people.
I just want a regular pastrami sandwich. And the Swiss cheese that comes on a 19, I'd like you to take my cheese and shove it up his... Is that all right? Okay.
Bill, are you there?
Here I am. Do you see me?
Are you ready to talk deli?
I'd love to talk to you. I couldn't wait for you to ask me, Lara. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Buddy.
I mean, I think we should just start by talking about what deli means to you. I think deli is just so much larger than life, and I want to know how do you define deli? I mean, let's just get right into it.
It's a way of life. It's the sights, the sounds, the smells, the taste, the complaints. It's all part of it. If you're in a Jewish family, a lot of your life revolves around a deli. And it's childhood. And because that's where your grandparents want to go. It's where your parents want to go. And, after 2 bites, it's where you want to go. The food is delicious. It's comfort food. It feels like home, especially if you're Jewish. But I know a lot of people who aren't Jewish who love it so much. And it's very simple. It tastes really good. It's the definition of like homey comfort food.
So there's a lot there I want to unpack. But first of all, why did you, I know you obviously love it, but why did you decide to put it in that episode? That was the Los Angeles episode, right?
Because I had to, I'm a New Yorker, and I lived in New York for the first 30 years of my life. And now the next 30 years of my life have been in LA. And I hated LA when I first got here. I thought, you know, the only thing I knew about it was from watching Woody Allen movies, and he was like, the only cultural advantage is you can make a right turn on a red light, right? And the food was going to be like a plate of mashed yeast, he said, right? And I thought when I got out here, he had been kind. You know, I saw it as like Paramus with palm trees. I didn't like it at all. And the food scene in 1989 was kind of crappy. But things have started to evolve here till, I don't want to fight with anybody, but now I think LA actually is the best food city in America. And we can go into that later. But it wasn't me who said this. I believe it was Nora Ephron in the New Yorker magazine who said the best pastrami sandwich in America is not in New York. It is not at Katz's Deli. It's actually at Langer's on Alvarado and 7th in Los Angeles. And damn if she wasn't right. And I think if you eat it, you've had it a million times, right?
I got engaged there.
What?
My husband proposed to me at Langer's, and it was the only engagement in the history of the delis, in the history of Langer's. And when Josh went in there, he planned it ahead of time. And when he went, he said, all right, how many guys have done this before? You know? And they said, nobody, you're the first one. And he couldn't believe it. And they brought my ring out next to a number 19.
This is the most Jewish proposal I've ever heard in my life.
I know. And we did, and then we went back a few months later and we did a photo shoot there to recreate the whole thing. Because of course we barely even we got like one blurry photo from the day, but everyone clapped when they saw what happened. It was like, he threw me off 100 times, you know, as we were going, because he knew I'd probably figure it out because he knows how much I love deli and everything. And so on the way there, he said, you know, I kind of figured it out. And on the way he said, oh, you know what, I'm going to be late. Let's just get it to go. So then that threw me off. And then when we got there, they put us in the back of the restaurant, but he knew that I would say, oh, no, I don't want that table. I want a better table, because he knew that me being me. And yeah, so we had a prime table, of course, because I love, you know, changing tables 100 times, because that's part of my DNA. Yeah, came out in a little box next to the 19.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you love this for many reasons.
Yeah. So Langer's is like, yeah. And as far as I know, I've asked, you know, Trish, the 3rd generation owner of Langer's, I've asked her a few times, and I don't think anybody has followed in our footsteps.
But is your picture there somewhere that I haven't seen it?
No, it should be, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very nice that you named your first child number 19. I thought that was
I know, yeah. It was the least we could do.
But here's what I love. First of all, I love that story. I'm never going to forget that. Now it has like this extra romantic connotation, the number 19. But if you were to tell somebody why it's better than the best pastrami sandwich in New York, I'm wondering if you would say the same thing that I would say.
I know what you're going to say. The bread.
That's
what Nora Ephron said too in the New Yorker. And it's funny because Nora Ephron, I think I don't know if you know, maybe you know, but that line, I'll have what she's having, that famous line, I guess she wrote it because she wrote When Harry Met Sally. She wrote the screenplay too.
That's right.
Do you know if she wrote that famous line that that Rob Reiner's mother said in the movie When Harry Met Sally? Like, I mean, I think this gets into the question of the impact of Jewish deli in American popular culture. And I think this gets back to the first question that I asked you, you know, or the first sort of statement that I said, which is that deli is larger than life, right? And I think one of the reasons that deli is larger than life is because it has such an impact in such a larger than life impact in popular culture, right? Can you think of a restaurant or a food culture that has as large of an impact in popular culture? Maybe in an Italian restaurant, like Leave the Gun to Cannoli is maybe as impactful a sentence as I'll have what she's having, right? In terms of like food culture and popular culture, like is there a food culture that is as impactful in popular culture, let's say movies, television, than deli?
It's so specific, and yet I learned as a writer that the more specific you get, the more universal something becomes. because all our lives deal in specificities. So even if my specific isn't yours, you're going to relate to it because it's specific. So deli food, just like Italian food or Chinese food or Mexican food or pizza or any, is very, very specific. We know what that is. So we identify when we see, oh, you don't put mayo on a pastrami sandwich. We understand why, right?
Yes.
Does it make sense? And
Yeah.
you don't have to be Jewish to get that.
Well, I mean, I've seen people at Langer's. This is the thing that's so interesting to me. This is what the reason why I'm hesitating is because, and you said this a few minutes ago when you said that, and this is one of the things that I think is so universal about deli is that deli started, right, as this immigrant food. It's this food of the old country. It's this Eastern European, Central European, immigrant cuisine, right? The humble origins. It began as this food for people who had come to North America longing for the food of their past, right? Of their immigrant cuisine. And it was food by a people for a people, but it has become universal. Over the generations, it has become a food that is beloved by many people beyond that one immigrant community, right? So when you walk into Langer's at lunchtime, any day of the week, you're going to see all kinds of people. You're not just going to see Jewish people. And that's the thing that I love about Langer's and I love about deli. And so I have seen all kinds of crazy concoctions at Langer's today. And I see people putting mayo on pastrami there all the time.
It's the beautiful thing about human beings is I love this and I explore it always in the show. It's the mashup. Do you know about corned beef and cabbage in Ireland, right?
Right, exactly.
Came from Jews.
Right.
Fish and chips in London came from Jews.
Right. So what do you think it is? You've traveled the world, you've met all kinds of people. What do you think it is about like knishes that have such a powerful hold on people? What do you think it is about deli that is so, why do people fall in love with this food? Why are people traveling around the world for deli? Why do people come from around LA to go to Langer's? Why do people go to New York and make a pilgrimage to Katz's? Why do people love pastrami and lox and corned beef and latkes? Like, you wouldn't think this is a food that people would fall for, but they do.
Very simple, like everything else. It tastes really good. It tastes good. If it didn't taste good, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be talking about it. Yes, it can have all these connotations and everything we're talking about. It feels like home. It feels like family. It feels like comfort. But it has to taste good, number one. Maybe stuffed derma you don't need. But the rest of it.
I like it.
Listen, this is, I think, it also, there's foods that maybe they wouldn't be the most delicious things on your list, but because they remind you of a time and a place, they're special, right?
What do you think? I was born in the 1940s?
No, but if you had
it doesn't remind me of anything. It does like it.
Yes, but you probably had it because your grandmother gave it to you or somebody gave it to you and you liked it. I understand.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be first on your list. Hey, what do you want tonight? Stuffed derma. Wow. How about, I bet you're a fan of the slop that comes out of the gefilte fish jar too.
No. That's where I draw the line.
I worked in a deli. Did you know this about me?
Yeah, so let's talk about that. I know you mentioned that a few times in a couple of episodes, and I want to hear more about that.
So there's a deli on 70th and 3rd in Manhattan called PJ Bernstein's, and I believe it's still there.
Oh, it's still there. I worked on the website.
I worked there in 1981. I was 21 years old. I had just been fired from the Metropolitan Museum of Art, where I was a guard. Did you know that about me?
You don't strike me as the security guard type.
I didn't strike them as the security guard type either because I was fired. I was fired because I fell asleep on a 300-year-old bed at 4 a.m. That's true. And I went from there to this deli job where I managed the deli. The owner went home at 3 o'clock every afternoon. And from 3 to 11, it was my deli. I ran it and I learned so much. And the guys behind the counter, I remember a guy, Max, he was like, first day, he goes, you ever have coleslaw on a hot dog? Very nice. I said, I'll try it, and changed my life. Have you ever had coleslaw?
Well, my family's from Montreal, and they're, you know, they do steamed hot dogs. Did you? I know you did the Montreal episode, but you didn't go for steamé. That's like a Montreal thing to go for.
I have to go back.
It's
I can't do everything.
French Canadian
I have
steamed
less
hot
than an
dog
hour.
with steamed cabbage and mustard
Wow.
on it.
That sounds good.
Yeah, so that kind of reminds me. So I think you need another Montreal episode.
Of course I do. But listen, I went to Schwartz's. We could talk about that. Awesome. Awesome deli.
That's, you know, when I think of, I mean, obviously Langers has a special place in my heart, but when Schwartz's in Montreal those are my two kind of constellations in my orbits.
I'll tell you, it gives you a run for your money, Langers. But I still am going to give the edge to Langers just because of the bread. And the bread is half the sandwich, people. The bread is half the sandwich.
It ruins
you. Got to have great bread.
It ruins you for life, that bread. Yeah, I actually,
baked.
I can't eat bread at any other deli. I just eat it. I just eat the
And
meat.
Katz's, if anyone from Katz's is listening,
Yeah.
your bread is a shanda. You really need to work on the bread.
Yeah.
It's stale. It's not, I don't know what you're doing, but it's certainly an afterthought. And your meat is too good to serve it on such crappy bread. People, come on, let's make a petition. This is now the most important thing in America, is to change this.
Forget about everything else going on in the world right now.
Everything else can be handled.
Yes.
But the bread at Katz's, you know what I get at Katz's? I get the hot dogs there. I think they're delicious.
Yeah, a lot of people like those.
I lost you. Oh, there, you're back.
Yeah, a lot of people like those hot dogs at Katz's. But I want to know, how did you end up the manager? How'd you go from security guard to manager? That seems like a big jump in professional.
They were desperate. That's how I get everything. That's how I got my wife. Desperation.
What else?
But I loved, you know, I learned how to slice the meat even. I learned so many things. And I was kind of like, since I was the manager, I was kind of running the cash register. There was a little bar behind me, and Howard Cosell would come in. This is 1981. And he would say, "Hello, Philip, I'll have a vodka on the rocks." And he would sit down and he would want me to join him. So I would sit with Howard Cosell and he would talk to me about how much he hated sports. It was amazing. And Dr. Ruth Westheimer would come in and teach me things. And Louise Lasser, because they lived in the building. It was fantastic.
So let's fast forward a little bit and talk a little bit about where you're at today with your show, and get back to something you were talking about a few minutes ago with this idea of like comfort food and comfort zone.
Yes. Yes.
I think one of the things that, you know, when we talk about deli, it's really impossible not to talk about comfort food, right?
Right.
But I know that when you talk about your show a lot, you talk about getting, you know, one of the missions of your show is to get people out of their comfort zones, right? And to try and inspire people to, through travel or through food, even if it's in their own backyard, to get them out of their comfort zone and to meet other people or to try other food. And I think what really struck me about some of the episodes that I saw in this season was when you got out of your own comfort zone, and when you were meeting people that were the least like you. You know, that I saw that when you were in Marrakesh and when you met that Berber family. I don't know if they were sort of semi-nomadic or if they were, or where exactly that was. It seemed very desolate.
It was in Atlas Mountains.
In the Atlas
about
Mountains.
an hour and a half outside of Marrakesh.
Right.
This is an experience that actually you can do. I mean, once we get back to the world,
right.
You can have a meal with a family and they benefit, you certainly benefit. And I don't know, it was just one of the most beautiful experiences of my whole life.
Right.
And I think, you know, the whole thing about the show is to get out of your comfort zone. And for many people, it's just getting on a plane to go anywhere, right? Is that comfort zone. 2/3 of Americans don't even have a passport, right? So I want you to use that passport, get that passport when we can, and when the other countries want us back, by the way. And then, you know, like I always think, if somebody gave you a house, would you stay in just one room of the house? I want to see the whole house. So that's how I feel. Now, I'm not brave. You know how I sold my show to Netflix. I said, I'm exactly like Anthony Bourdain if he was afraid of everything. Oh, I lost you again. Are you there?
I'm here. I'm always here.
I don't know. The screen just went to.
Yeah, I know. I saw Sarah.
I don't know if that happened to everybody. Anyway.
Yeah.
I felt like now that I've done a bunch of these, that I naturally, and I guess this happens to all human beings, once you've done the regular, the usual, the tried and true, you do have this itch to take the baby step out of the comfort zone. And don't you know, that's always where the beautiful stuff is in life.
Right.
You take that little bit of a chance. Like your husband thought, maybe she'll marry me if I ask her at
Actually,
Rangers.
I was telling him that he better marry. He better propose to me or else. That I was actually forcing him to. Yeah, because that's
Wow.
That's
wow.
Yeah.
You fit in with my whole image of the deli life, actually.
Yeah, it was. Yes. Anyway, that's another Zoom question.
Hey, you know what we got to talk about? Since we mentioned Schwartz's, you got to tell the people, because they don't call it pastrami and corned beef in Canada. They call it smoked meats. Yeah. Tell the people the difference between the Montreal style smoked meats and what we do here in our delis.
Well, everyone has a kind of different version of what exactly the definition, the difference is. But I think Montreal has more of a Romanian influence on the immigrant population. And so it's a little bit more spicy and more peppery. There's no sugar in the spice. So it's more of a traditional version of a pastrami. It's smoked in a more traditional way, and it doesn't have the additives that most pastrami in the United States does. And then because of the Canadian cuts of meat, I think butchering is a bit different in Canada than in the United States. So smoked meat usually uses the brisket and not the navel. I don't know, I've never butchered a cow, so I don't know exactly the difference when it comes to the exact cut, but from what I understand, the pastrami is, the navel is like slightly behind the brisket. The brisket's like the front of the cow, like the neck, and then the navel is right behind that piece. So I think those are the main differences. So the fat, the way the distribution of the fat is a little different on the navel versus on the brisket. I'm sure a million people are going to write me emails after this.
But what they told me at Schwartz's,
technical details I got wrong, but yeah.
What the man told me at Schwartz's is also, tell me if this is right, they don't boil the meat first. They marinate it and they steam it, but they don't boil it.
That's also corned beef versus pastrami versus smoked meat. That's when things start to get really complicated. Now, corned beef versus pastrami, smoked meat and pastrami are more similar to one another than corned beef and pastrami, right?
Well, he told me that about the pastrami that I was eating.
Right. So corned beef and pastrami are smoked meat and pastrami are quite similar.
Right. But he did say,
ballpark. And then corned beef is a whole other situation, basically, because corned beef is boiled. And pastrami and smoked beef is not boiled.
Got it. Now I understand.
There's no boiling in smoked meat, that's for sure. It only gets steamed before serving. Also, the main big difference is in the cutting, because smoked meat is cut. It's hand sliced. At Schwartz's, they have all those cutters there. And pastrami in the United States, for the most part, is not. At Katz's, they still hand cut it. But
which is great.
At Langer's, they hand cut it. But in most places, unless it's one of these new artisanal places like, what do we have? Wexler's in LA, or
very good.
Some of the other new artisanal Glyssons, I think they probably hand, I'm not sure, I haven't been there, but some of the newer artisanal delis, most of the pastrami in the United States, the vast majority of the pastrami in the United States is not hand sliced. Montreal smoked meat is hand sliced.
Makes a difference.
So we're getting really like technical here and probably like
I'm actually getting really
probably
hungry.
Lost a lot of people just fell asleep maybe, but
I don't think so. I think if you're like me, your mouth is watering. Like
I know. I hope people are eating while they're listening.
I hope.
Oh
Raise
my
your
God.
hand if you're having a pastrami sandwich during this. That's probably the smartest thing you ever did.
Yeah.
Hey, Billy, can you come to the kitchen when you get a chance?
That was my wife on the intercom in the house.
Well, it sounded like a deli. It sounded just like a deli. Come to the
Pick
kitchen
up.
when you get a chance.
Pick up, you son of a bitch. It's waiting 2 hours already.
All right. Well, I want to get back to this another question that I had for you before we get to the public questions. I think we have a few more minutes. I was listening to a podcast. I think it was on Gilbert Gottfried or something like that. But you were talking about, it was like a lot more about, television and comedy writing and things like that. And
That boring
about,
stuff.
Yeah, that stuff. But you were talking about the early days of Everybody Loves Raymond, and how one of the television executives told you, think Yiddish, write English.
No, write Yiddish, cast British.
Oh, okay. All right. I wrote down the note that you said, think Yiddish, write English also in your writing.
Nope.
No, all right.
The expression is write Yiddish, cast British.
But it still applies, right? The idea that you should, and your family on Everybody Loves Raymond was, everybody knows it was basically your family, right?
Well, it's actually physically based on Ray Romano's actual family. He really had twin boys, an older daughter. He really had parents that lived close by, and he really had an older brother who lived with them who was a police sergeant. But what I didn't know about his family, when I was writing the pilot, I filled in the characters from my family. So it really was, a lot of my parents and a lot of my wife, actually, everything.
So basically the question I have for you is, that show was not a Jewish show though, or was it?
It was in my house.
Right.
If 90% of the stories were coming from things that happened to me, or to Ray, or to one of the other writers, and I don't know if you know this, but a lot of the writers of sitcoms in America are Jewish. Did you know that? So there was a lot of Jewish stuff. And listen, Seinfeld, all their names were Costanza, right?
Right.
And they made up all these other ethnicities. That's a whole other topic.
Well, that's what I'm getting at here. So basically, in that era, even in the 90s, there was a bit of whitewashing. In other words, it wasn't explicitly Jewish.
Right.
It wasn't nearly as Jewish as.
You know why?
Because
the executives were afraid that America wouldn't take to Jews. And what executives were saying this? Jewish executives.
Right, exactly. And so I find it really interesting in Somebody Feeds Phil, and I'll have what she's having, or I'll have what Phil's having.
That's your show.
Yeah. You are obviously very Jewish in this season. You literally play a gigantic shofar in your Buenos Aires episode. There's Yiddish literally in the episodes. What do you think has changed to allow for this kind of coming out? I have to use that word today. And why do you think food is so central to this transformation in television and in your own kind of evolution as a writer and as a public figure?
I think that finally there's so many outlets and so many choices that you may as well get specific. It used to be called broadcasting, and so they were afraid of being too niche. There's 3% of the population is Jewish. Don't make it Jewish, right? Make it American. Make it so that you broadcasting and hitting as many people as possible. Why? There's only 3 networks. Now there's 1,000. Netflix alone has 1 million shows, right? So they allow you to be what you want to be, because they'd rather it be authentic and hit the 3% of Jewish people who might be watching. Maybe if you're a big hit, it spills over into 5% of the population. It doesn't matter anymore. And there's room for everything. That's actually good. That's diversity. And that every voice can be represented. There's a sitcom on now about a Muslim kid, right? Good. There should be something for everybody, and everybody should watch everything and learn maybe a little something. Not everything is good, but at least it's there.
Yeah.
That's the world.
So, I mean, to build on that, I love the scene. I don't think it was from this season. Maybe it was from last season when you brought Danielle Boulou into your parents' home to taste your mother's matzo ball soup. And I wanted to ask you what that experience was like for you and for her, and why you decided to do that.
I make fun of her cooking for good reason, by the way. She was an amazing woman and brilliant and really funny, and all my values really are from her and a little bit of my dad. But she is exceptional in every way except cooking. And to be fair, she worked a full-time job. She had 2 horrendous children, and she didn't have time. And also we didn't have a lot of money. So the genre of cuisine in our house was cheap, right? It was whatever was on sale was what we were gonna have. And so like even steak was this gray, chewy hardship. It was like a punishment. So I didn't like it. I didn't really have great flavor until I left that house. However, she made something that was good, and that was her matzo ball soup. And so I wanted to celebrate that. And I thought of a scene we could do where Daniel Boulud would come over, because I wanted to get him in the show anyway. He's a great chef. And what if he tried her matzo ball soup? Seems like a scene. And, you know, my parents had no idea who he was when he came in. What you saw was completely real. I had him wait outside, and I told my mom, took a chance. I didn't know, maybe it wouldn't work, but if it didn't work, I wasn't gonna put it in the show. And he came in and he tasted the soup. My favorite thing in that whole scene was he knew he was coming to try matzo ball soup, so he bought something. He brought a little bit of something that he made, dill oil, right? And he puts it in soups and stuff. He's a 4-star French chef. He's one of the best chefs in the world. And my mother's like, oh, please, yes, thank you. And he goes to put it in my father's, and my father goes, it's all right. Daniel Boulud's in your kitchen, and he's literally at your kitchen table. It's amazing. The thing about my parents that I love is that, you know, when we first started filming with them, I made a movie called Exporting Raymond, which is about me going to Russia to help the Russians turn my sitcom into Everybody Loves Kostya. And the movie starts by me going to my parents' house and interviewing them about their trip to Russia. I thought that would do 2 things. 1, a little setup for Russia, and 2, you would see where the parents from Raymond came, right? So you come in when you're going to film with people, and you have to wear a microphone. So they come with a wire, and they put it down the front of my mother's blouse. So what is this? Oh my, oh. And my father has to clip it to his backside, right? He doesn't like any of this. 2 big guys with big cameras are in their house. A guy with a boom mic is in there. Within 5 minutes, they're fighting as if nobody's there. That's what I love. Like they could care less that they're on TV. They're just them. That's what's great about them. And they're always funny.
I can't let this end without asking you 2 small questions. Besides Langer's and I guess maybe Schwartz's, what are some other favorite delis that you've eaten at around the world? And what is your favorite deli order?
It's easily the number 19 at Langer's. That's the deli. But are you including appetizing, like Russ and Daughter?
Of course.
I can say that, Russ and Daughter?
Okay, I'll just add the sort of historical note that, originally Deli was a very meat-centered, this was, a celebration of American abundance and the cattle industry, and for better or for worse, territorial expansion and the celebration of meat. And, in the old country, meat was scarce, and this is why Deli has become such a big thing in the United States, because this is why Deli is so big here, right? Because meat, but over time, within a few generations in the United States, dairy and meat and the deli started merging, and so appetizing and bagels and lox and all these other things became part of deli. So of course appetizing is included.
Spectacular. It's spectacular. It's so, you know what it is about deli, appetizing or meat deli? Satisfying.
Yeah.
Satisfying.
So where was your
the whole
favorite
picture?
one?
It's the atmosphere. It's the feeling. It affects flavor. It's who you're with.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if you saw the show where I think it was New York episode where I took Tracy Morgan into Russ and Daughters.
Yeah.
He never had that stuff in his life.
Yeah. But somehow he got it. He was acting like an old Jewish man all of a sudden. It was amazing. It was just bossing around the waiters and
Isn't that's proof of concept?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Proof that this food is good.
Yeah. He figured it out right away. He got it.
Yeah. I'm trying to, for the life of me, I can't think of other delis that I love, but if you name them, I would probably say yay or nay. I do love, I love, New York is the center for this, and Barney Greengrass is phenomenal. And I even love, what's the one on 76? Fine and Shapiro, that was near my folks' apartment. They love that. And everybody, it's like they do certain ones, they do a good thing here, right? They do, you go there for the matzo ball soup. You go here for the sable, right?
What about, have you eaten deli food in other places that you've traveled? I mean, I know you went to that, what was that? Was that restaurant Mashugana in Buenos Aires any good?
Phenomenal, but it wasn't a deli.
Yeah.
But what he was doing, he would do, it was a big restaurant, a real, dinner restaurant.
Yeah.
He would come out with a rib, like a cow rib, that had been pastramied.
Right. That's.
Oh my God.
I want to go just to eat there. It looks so.
It was absolutely spectacular.
Yeah.
All right, talk to the people. I see questions.
Yeah, let's get some questions.
Okay, I'm back.
Sari, I'm so glad to see you.
I know I
don't
missed you.
Knows this, but Sari's one of my favorite people.
No, you're your favorite person.
Yeah.
I know, but Lara's here.
She gets it.
She's one of my favorites.
Phil.
She's one of my favorites too.
Yeah, she can be one of your favorites.
And all of you who are asking questions, you're now my favorites too.
Phil, stop it. You're making me jealous.
I'm feeling a little jealous now.
I'm an attention whore.
A little bit. Well, you and Lara are still my favorites. Okay, well, the great question. Someone mentioned that we didn't get to pickles yet. So yes, very, very important. The question is, this is for Phil, but I would love to hear from both of you. Are you a half sour? Are you full sour? What's the deal?
Lara, you want to take that first?
Well, I just want to say that one of the whole basis of deli is fermentation and pickles. I mean, you wouldn't have deli without every single part of deli is fermentation and pickles. Deli comes from a culture that did not have refrigeration. And so pickles are a fundamental part of deli. I mean, everything, mustard, pickles, sausages, deli meats, every part of it, the seltzer, every single part of it, gefilte fish, herring, all of it is a pickle. It's all pickles. It's all fermented. And pickles.
Don't you love that the best restaurants in the world now, like Noma, we have a whole fermentation team, and and you walk in, we've been doing this for a while with pickles.
Yeah. Every culture in the world has pickles. I love a half sour. And my favorite pickles, since I know my dad is watching, I'll just say that they're his pickles. And he learned from his father, and his father learned from his father, so.
I say the more garlicky, the better. Who has the real good garlic pickle? Who do you think?
The pickle guy in the Lower East Side.
Yeah, pretty great. Those barrels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always go to Katz's and I I don't care about the half sours. I just like, I throw those at other people and then just eat the full sour.
I also love like a real old school deli. Give you the pickled tomato too. I love that.
Ooh, I love
my
that.
dad makes those. My grandfather used to make those. Yeah, those. Yeah.
Phil, have you ever been to Corky and Lenny's in Cleveland, or Lara?
No.
Really?
Oh, Gus's Pickles is watching. Is that Sari? I just saw Gus's Pickles is here.
Really? Oh, that's so exciting.
I saw them chat, I think.
Oh, that's so cool. Hi, Gus's Pickles.
Look through the chat, yeah.
Well, we also actually have someone from Cleveland, Jeremy Umansky, who's the chef of Brooklyn Larder, which is like an incredible Jewish deli, which and you must go. And Jeremy was asking, yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. And Jeremy's asking if either of you have eaten a fried gefilte fish sandwich, which is something that he serves at his restaurant.
I would really like to.
That sounds awesome to me. I want that.
Jeremy is one of the foremost, speaking of fermentation, Koji experts in the United States. Just wrote an incredible cookbook called Koji Alchemy and did a MOFAD program a couple weeks ago, and will like blow your mind with his fermentation knowledge. So definitely go to Brooklyn Larder. Sorry, not Brooklyn Larder. Why did I call it that? That's this place in Brooklyn.
I saw somebody wrote, I don't want to take your job away, but somebody wrote if I missed the Carnegie Deli. And
that's a great question.
I don't. I love everything about the Carnegie Deli except the sandwich, because the sandwich, think about it, the sandwich was always made for the Instagram, way before Instagrams. Yeah. People would flip out at just the size. It was all about the size, and they were charging you a fortune for this sandwich that you couldn't possibly eat yourself. That wasn't the point. It was all about the look and the shock. And to me, it's almost like style over substance. I wanted a better sandwich. So I would take home 3/4 of it and have 4 sandwiches.
Yeah, I think Carnegie was a relic of the, in the mid-century, there was a lot of delis that were in that Times Square, Broadway, connected to the theater district. And I think Carnegie was a relic of that. Bless their hearts, but I think it was a relic of that sort of tourist era, showbiz era, with all due respect.
Yeah, and I love, there's a movie called Broadway Danny Rose, which I think is Woody Allen's best movie, and it's set in the Carnegie Deli, so it'll always have a special place in my heart. I love everything, I love the whole atmosphere and everything about it, but those sandwiches are crazy.
Yeah. Okay, what about latkes? Applesauce, sour cream, or both?
Both.
Both, but not in a deli.
Yeah.
Have to be at home.
Mm-hmm.
Homemade.
Okay, what are your thoughts on Second Avenue Deli?
Great.
Love it.
Great.
Love
I used to work near there, and their mushroom barley soup might be the best in the world.
Second Avenue Deli, I have been trying for years, and I know the family, Lee Walls, and they're a wonderful family, but I don't know if those of you might remember their automat. And I think that it's the only automat in the history of Jewish delis. I don't know, Phil, if you ever went to the location on Second Avenue. You must have.
Of course.
The location. Do you remember the automat when you walked in on the right? When you entered, they had an automat. And I don't know if it was ever in use. I think it was, they told, I thought it was, I don't know if they ever used it. They got it from another restaurant, it turned out, but it was up on the wall for decades, I think.
It's in the new location.
The automat? Oh, yeah. It's up on the Upper East Side, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's still in New York City.
That. I haven't been to the new. I've been to the new location on 33rd, I think, in Park, but I haven't been to the new one uptown. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. Lara, Schwartz's or Snowden in Montreal?
Both. I mean, the only thing is, and I think they're both quote unquote authentic in their own way. Snowden Deli is an institution much like Schwartz's is. I think it's a little younger, but I'm not entirely sure about that. Somebody would probably correct me. But for smoked meat, I would choose Schwartz's only because Schwartz's does it in house, and Snowden Deli's smoked meat is Lester's brand, much like most other commercial smoked meat in Montreal, which is good, which is very good smoked meat, and you wouldn't be going wrong there. But I love everything else about Snowdon, the party sandwiches, the moon cookies, the cheese bagelach, the carnatzel, cheese black, cheese. These are all Montreal Jewish things. Again, that Romanian influence in Montreal is very unique. So if you ever go to Montreal, go to Snowdon Deli and go to Schwartz's.
And go to St. Viateur for bagels. Best.
Yeah. I mean, there's a really great. Sarah and I are both know this great. There's a Montreal Jewish Museum in I think now they're looking for a new space, but they do these great Jewish food walking tours in Montreal. So it's pretty overwhelming, the Montreal Jewish history and food Jewish history in Montreal. So it's no coincidence that we're talking so much about Montreal, because if you really want these old world Jewish deli flavors, New York and Montreal, and LA to a certain extent, but New York and Montreal really are kind of centers of this kind of cuisine. And so if you're really a deli fan, you know, when travel is more available to you, or even not, I mean, if you live on the East Coast, go to Montreal and spend a couple of days eating there.
Yeah, Phil, why didn't you go to Arthur's when you were in Montreal?
Oh, I didn't know about it.
Oh, okay. Well, next time.
I only, I have less than an hour. I have less than an hour to do a show, but I want to tell people you can order St. Viateur bagels from Montreal, and you can order the sandwich, the number 19 from Langer's. You can order a kit that you assemble at home. It's called Gold Belly is the company. They deliver stuff from all over the country. That thing travels very well. You should get it. You get their bread that we're talking about. You get the pastrami. Oh, you got to do this.
Yeah, you can order Russ and Daughters from them too.
Russ and Daughters. I get it here in LA. I have it sent.
Okay, well, speaking of bagels, there's been a couple questions about bagels. Both, where do you go for bagels in LA? And then also, I mean, obviously you were just talking about Montreal. So like the big controversy of like Montreal bagels versus New York versus like, I don't know what an LA bagel is, but apparently that's a thing.
They're bigger and softer. I like the Montreal. I think the Montreal is like old school, really, really good. I just love it.
I think anybody who eats a fresh Montreal bagel, fresh on site, and isn't convinced immediately is crazy. I mean,
right out of the wood oven. Oh
right?
My God.
Mean, you can't eat a Montreal bagel right out of the wood oven and eat it there on site. You can't eat a Montreal bagel that's a day old or 2 days old or toasted the next day and think that you're up for the challenge of making an educated guess, because you're not. You must taste it on site from the oven within an hour to 3 hours at most of cooking. Otherwise, you cannot make a decision on this.
I'm getting them frozen shipped to me.
Yes, frozen shipped.
Of course, they're not quite as good as eating it, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah, frozen shipped.
So I recommend it.
Yeah.
I don't bother with other bagels now. I just have a case of those in my freezer.
But Phil, you pass.
So this is a cool question. Offal seems to have been a big part of the Jewish deli menus, but seems to have petered out with the current generation. Any thoughts on why that is?
The thought of it is disgusting to many people. But being poor immigrants, that's what the whole world is based on cheap cuts of meat. The whole world cuisine is based on cheap cuts of meat that have been gussied up to be not just palatable, but phenomenal and worthy of a trip. That's the whole history of food in the world.
Yeah, what do you think you're eating when you're eating sausage and hot dogs?
Don't think about
it. Mic drop.
Just enjoy the snap. Which, by the way, you know what the snap is from.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, someone wants to know, Lara, if you had a Jewish deli.
I never stopped eating chopped liver.
Yeah. Someone wants to know if you had a deli-inspired wedding menu.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
We got married in Italy, so not exactly.
Oh.
Yeah. But,
nice.
another level.
Okay, what can we do to keep deli culture alive and thriving?
We're doing it.
Yeah.
This is it. Look, this is if we can turn one person onto deli tonight, that's everything. It's really about patronizing your favorite delis. It's every cuisine that you want to keep around. You got to give them your business. That's everything.
I would agree. Any thoughts on Chicago deli? Have you been to any places, Phil? What in your travels?
I didn't go there for deli, but I have a feeling there are some good delis there. I'm trying to remember the names.
Someone's saying Manny's Deli, maybe. Do you know that one?
Nope.
I thought that was more of a cafeteria, but I haven't been there.
Okay, someone's asking about the best bagel place. I think they're talking about Saint Viator in Montreal. Yeah, but did you name where you like to eat bagels in LA, both of you?
I did not. What do you like, Lara?
Oh, I like Bell's Bagels.
Who?
Bell's Bagels.
I
Do you
don't
know
know
Bell's
them.
Bagels in Highland Park? Yeah, they're I don't know they're in, I've only like done parties where they've actually they catered like my son's my daughter's baby naming and things like that. So I've actually it's Highland Park is not my I don't too far for me, but they're in a movie, a music venue. So in the morning, no one's there. So they have they use the venue and they do a pop-up for bagels in the morning. I forgot the name, but Bell's Bagels is the name. I'm not sure if they're there anymore or where they're located these days. I have to look it up, but Bell's Bagels is my favorite bagel in LA. Also, there's, Murray's Bagels?
In New York?
Maury's,
No.
Maury's, M-A-U-R-Y, Maury.
Yeah, Maury's,
Yes.
Maury's Bagels.
Very good.
Maury's
Very good. Yes, very good.
But I don't really get bagels in LA. Like, I don't know. It's kind of like, I just get a taco, just like tacos, or it's just not my, like, I'm a little rusty there because it's just not, bagels are not what I want to eat in LA, but the occasions where baby naming, you want to have bagels and lox. So I called Bell's Bagels and I got them to come and do bagels. So, but I really like their bagels. They're doing, and I did a bagel demo with them once, a couple times, and they hand roll each bagel, which is very unusual for most bagel places, or, machine rolled. So Bell's Bagels is doing an old world style in LA, which is very unusual.
I love a bialy too.
That was a question.
You can't find that in LA. There's no bialy. As far as I know, I've never seen a bialy in LA.
But the bialy is great because if you don't want a lot of bread.
That's like a scooped out bagel. Like, what's the point?
Yeah, I blame Jan.
But then have a bialy.
Yeah.
Have a bialy then. My dad only eats bialys.
Phil, I like this question. This is such an iconic scene when you were with the Japanese chefs and then you got them to eat the Brooklyn and you got them to taste the egg cream.
Yes.
So someone wants to know like how that came about. Although I think it was sort of obvious from the scene, you just kind of mentioned it and you got inspired, but
there's no writing, there's no act. It just happened. In fact, I can tell you the scene really, I thought for a while the scene really wasn't going anywhere just because of our severe translation problems. And, some scenes work and some scenes don't. And we took a little break and I said to my brother, I think I'm just say goodbye now and we'll wrap it up. Cause I don't know. We've been at it for a while and I think the food is interesting, but I don't know. Some things, that's showbiz. So before I say goodbye, I didn't even know if the cameras were on. I just said, what do you do for fun? And the grandpa said, we have champagne night. I said, really, what's that? He said, I collect champagne. This is all through translator. And once a week on Wednesday nights, we pull down a good bottle of champagne and we all share it together. And I just said as a joke, that's so nice. In my house, we have egg cream night. And they went, what is this egg cream? Okay. And I laughed to myself and I said, now I'm going to explain something from Brooklyn to these ladies in kimonos, right? And these very proper Japanese people, lovely people. But I explained it and I said, and you put it in the seltzer and it foams up because of a chemical reaction. They all went together. They all went, oh, like this. And I just thought it was the most adorable thing. And I said to the crew, if only we could get the makings of an egg cream. And they said, Phil, you're not in the jungle. There's a supermarket across the street in Tokyo.
Yeah, there's 7-Eleven everywhere.
So I made them the things. And, you know, the men seemed to really enjoy it. But the women I saw, when they took a sip, the bubbles like tickled their nose and they were like, ooh. But it was just one of the, you think when you travel, you have nothing to offer.
Right.
I'm the tourist, but I'm here to take their stuff in. You never think you could show them something. And I taught them. They taught me about, you know, how to barbecue eel. And I taught them about chocolate egg creams. It's one of the happiest moments of my life, let alone best things ever in the show, I think.
And did you tell them that seltzer is actually Jewish champagne?
That's the joke, right?
Right. Yeah, it all ties together.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. I think the no more questions, but there have been a few people who wanted you to know that when you go to Katz's, you have to say that you don't want the rye bread, you want the club bread, right? Am I reading this right? Yeah, you need the pastrami sandwich on club bread.
What's club bread? Is that a certain rye bread? A different rye bread? What is it?
I don't know. That's just like the inside tip that a couple of people have shared with us tonight.
Or you're in a club where they give you fresh bread.
Yeah, maybe.
He's in the club.
What do they say about the club? That you don't want to join the club where you get to be a member? What's that line?
Yes, I don't want to belong to any club that would have someone like me for a member.
Yes.
Is this like a Fight Club thing? Like the first rule?
No, that's
called the Jewish Deli Club.
I think even Woody Allen says it goes back to Groucho Marx.
Okay, I'm getting all of my cultural references confused right now. I think we should end. I think we're done. But it was so fun. Thanks, guys.
Because we're hungry.
Yes.
We're going to go eat.
Deli.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you to everybody for coming tonight and watching us on your little computer. If I never see another Zoom thing, it's fine with me. But I'm so glad to see you guys. And Lara, you're so delightful. And I love your story of your engagement. I hope when you get divorced, it's in a pizza place.
It would be. My husband loves pizza. That's perfect.
Perfect.
That's where I'll propose divorce to him.
Perfect. And Sari, you got to come to LA when this is over, and I'll take you to eat with Lara, okay?
Yeah, except that Lara lives in Toronto.
Yeah, I do live in Toronto now.
What? Well, you have to come too. You two get on a flight and come and see us, and we'll all go eat.
Okay, I'm coming for Murray, but I'll be happy to see you too.
Okay.
I'm back and forth. When all this ends, I'll be back in LA.
Oh, Phil, my mom is saying hi. She's watching.
Oh, she's my favorite person. Hi.
Okay, now I'm really jealous. But I like that she calls herself Sari's mother only to you.
I love it.
Thank
Okay.
you, everyone.
Thank you guys. Love you. Thanks everyone for watching.
And be well, everybody.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.